Today I'm going to tell you about 5 mistakes beginner backpackers make and how to avoid them. What's up, backpackers? I'm Dan and welcome to Backpacking Adventures, where we talk about backpacking, hiking, and gear. If those things interest you, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell notification so you don't miss a thing. Starting backpacking can be overwhelming for some. You're probably asking yourself, what are you going to need? How to get started? How much it's going to cost? The first thing that you need to do is, number 1, research. The first thing you're going to think about is, what gear do you need? The gear you use is a totally individual thing. If you meet backpackers out in the backcountry, they don't have the same gear loadout. They're always different. Do your research online. Go to YouTube. There are many resources out there that can tell you what gear you need. This backpacking series is one of them. Make sure you research other things just besides gear. You're going to want to learn possibly how to make a fire, how to deal with bears, how to hang your food, or what do you do with food, how do you store your food. So it's not always just about the gear. One other skill you're going to want to learn is simple map and compass skills. You don't have to get too complicated with it, just something that can help you read a map and navigate if your GPS or your cell phone doesn't work. You're also going to want to watch trip videos from other backpackers. Just by watching them, you can learn a lot from how they hang their food, how they backpack, how they hike, and that's important. The main point is you want to do as much research as you possibly can. When I started, I did little research, and my experience reflected that. When I went backpacking the first time, it was, I don't want to say horrible, but my backpack weighed 50-some pounds. I didn't bring enough food, but the overall experience was pretty tough because I didn't do any research. And basically, I didn't know what I was doing. I think if I would have researched everything a little bit more, things probably would have went a lot better. However, when I first went backpacking was before YouTube and before the internet really grew, so I'm kind of dating myself. Number 2. Don't spend a lot of money. First and foremost, you don't want to walk into a store, a sporting goods store, REI, and say, hey, I'm new to backpacking, what do I need? Because they're certainly going to give you what they think you need, which is probably be too much and too expensive. And you have to consider, you're just starting. You may not even like it. You may go on 1 or 2 trips and decide it's not for you, and that's okay. If you go out and buy a whole bunch of gear, especially top-of-the-line gear, which is very expensive, and you go out backpacking and decide you don't like it, you just wasted a lot of money. Yes, top-of-the-line gear may be better, lighter, but is it really what you need at this point? The answer is no. You don't need the best stuff at this point. One of the best ways to get started is to borrow gear from a friend. Borrow as much gear as you can without having to buy it so you can try it out, so you know what it's going to be like. And when you're ready to buy, one thing I would recommend is go to REI. They're very good at working with you. They know what they're doing, and most of the people that work there are outdoors people, backpackers, hunters, and so forth. One other good point about REI is they have a 1-year, no questions asked return policy. So if you buy a pair of hiking boots or a tent and you don't like it, or you figure you just don't like backpacking at all, they'll take it back with up to a year, no questions asked, which is pretty good. Also, if you don't like the gear, if it's not working for you, you can trade it out. Again, no questions asked, which will help you figure out what gear you really need. But you want to make sure backpacking is something you want to do long term before you make the investment, because it can get pretty expensive. You start over time, upgrading your gear, and that's another point. Your gear will change over time. As you move forward, you'll find other gear you like. But one other point, when you're going out to buy your gear, and after you do number 1, which is your research, just don't copy what other backpackers are reviewing or what they use. Use all that as information. Look at a couple different backpackers and the different gear they use and try to narrow it down to what you think you would like. Otherwise, you could buy something and it won't work for you, or you just won't like it. Don't copy specifically what they buy. And one thing you'll notice about watching other backpackers on YouTube is they'll say what their gear is, and then in a month, they'll change it out. And you'll be wondering to yourself, hey, I just bought this, you thought it was great. Use all that as information. Number 3, test and know your gear. It's important that when you purchase gear that you know how to use it. The last thing you want to do is go out on a backpacking trip. It's pouring down rain, you get to camp and you need to set up your tent, and guess what? You never set it up. You don't know how to do it. Takes you an hour to do it. Everything gets soaked. You want to make sure you test out your cook kit. Feel proficient with using your gear before you go out and do it. Also, you want to make sure your gear even works, because there could be times when you purchase gear and it could be defective. So make sure that it works before you go, because it's too late when you're out there. When I did all my research, there's one thing that I didn't see many people telling beginner backpackers, which takes us to number 4. Worry about the weight of your gear, but don't worry about the weight of your gear. When you're doing number 1, which is research, you're going to come across a lot of backpackers that are what they call ultralight. Ultralight backpacking means your base weight is under 10 pounds. Your base weight is all of your gear you're going to carry on your back, including your backpack, minus food, water, or anything consumable. Don't try to be ultralight from the beginning because of number 2, which is don't spend a lot of money. Ultralight backpacking can be more expensive than traditional backpacking. However, weight is important. I remember on my first backpacking trip where my pack was 50 pounds, it was horrible. It was horrible to hike with that much weight. So I've since changed out my gear to lighter gear so that I'm more comfortable when I hike. Weight can impact how far you can hike and how long you can hike. If your pack is too heavy, you're not going to be able to go as far. You're probably not going to enjoy the trip quite as much. Now, if you're just going on a mile or 2 in and you're going to camp out and enjoy time with your friends, that's okay. You can take everything you want. However, if you're going to go on a long trip, I would ask you to consider trying to get lighter gear so you can go longer, be more comfortable. But most importantly, don't sacrifice safety over weight. Don't leave something behind, or what I'd like to say, doesn't make the cut because of weight when it's something you need. But the main point, don't stress about weight too much. When you're purchasing your gear, try to take weight into consideration. If there is a sleeping bag for 3 pounds for $50 to $100, and there's another sleeping pad that weighs 1.5 pounds, maybe for $20 more, or even the same price, try to consider the lighter option, because as you add all of these things together, it will add up to a significant amount of weight. Now, number 5, food choices. Food is very important, and especially the amount of food you take while backpacking. The amount of food you eat on a regular day is not going to be the same amount of food that you need while you're hiking or backpacking. Now, there's some exceptions to that, such as if you're only going to hike in a mile and then just going for a camping trip. However, if you're going to hike, 5, 10, 15, 20 miles, you're going to need more calories than you would during a normal day. That was a mistake I made. My first backpacking trip, I took packets of the Lipton cup of soup. It had like 100 calories. I thought, hey, it was light. But you know what? I was really hungry the whole trip. So you really want to take into account low weight, high density calorie foods. Also, like I talked about in number 2, which was don't spend a lot of money, you don't need to spend a lot of money on food. Sure, Mountain House meals and Packet Gourmet meals are good, but they're about $8 each. For your first couple backpacking trips, you can go pretty much cheap. One of the things that I enjoy is little Spam single packets. Yep, that's right, Spam. If you're a backpacker, you're required to have Spam in your food kit. There are many cheap things like macaroni and cheese, or rice sides, or pasta sides, little packets of tuna, peanut butter. There's all kind of food, and wraps I enjoy eating wraps, pepperoni and peanut butter. You may think it's gross, but don't knock it until you try it, because it's good. Main point about food, just be cognizant of the fact that you're going to need more of it when you're out on the trail. Let me know what mistakes you made. Leave your comments below. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell notification. Also, give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. See you next time, and go explore.